Welcome back. Glad to have you on the podcast. Yeah,
Happy to be here.
Nice
it's my podcast too, and yours as well. Welcome. Hello.
Hi. Maybe I think let's just call it we need a placeholder for this.
The water?
Name wise, the water. Yeah.
I don't know.
What? I mean, I think we just call it Branford Boys.
Yeah.
How's that? I mean,
Taco Bell.
give it 10 episodes and we'll call it
Yeah.
the Dr. Clippy's side hour show.
No, we won't.
You don't know.
Yes, we will. So how's it been? How's the week been, everybody?
Pretty good. Are you still alive? If you're not, and you're watching this, how's
Hello?
the afterlife? Please give us some insight.
Yeah, maybe not too much though. I don't want to be haunted from beyond.
Yeah, maybe we don't want to know what happens when we die.
It's kind of a weirdly deep philosophical question to jump into first. So why don't we explore how you died?
I just sat down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. We could open up with the whole, how did we get murdered in this hypothetical scenario? Were you fighting a gorilla, per se?
Segway, baby.
Right?
If I die when attacking a gorilla with 100 other men, do I get to go to Valhalla?
Wait, well, no, because you'd only be attacking them with 99 other men. You would be the 100th, but yes, you would go to Valhalla.
Sweet. I'm game.
Yeah.
I think, okay, we'll get to that actual question, but I think a better question is, would you... No, this is a horrible question.
Go ahead, ask me
Would
anyway.
you fight a gorilla with 100 other men?
If I had the choice not to, no. I would
Maybe
choose
we'll
not
incentivize it with money.
Yeah.
No, it's not even with the money.
I think it would depend how much money we're talking. Like, are we talking like Squid Game's level of money? Like a Squid Game versus a random animal? And actually, while we're on that topic, what would be the most interesting Squid Game matchup?
Well, I haven't watched the show.
Oh.
Slow down in the comments.
Fucked up. I agree.
Weren't they all tricked? Where it's like, hey, you could get money in this game show. It's like, I didn't know we were fucking dying.
I definitely don't think they knew that, like, they were just going to be killed. But, like...
But money. Well, it's a common theme in a lot of, like, movies and shows and stuff where it's like, for some reason, the ultra rich get bored and they're like, I'm going to go make a bunch of poor people kill each other over some amount of money. That, to me, is trivial.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where it's like, like movie themes and like crazy ideas that can spark a story, but then they're like, oh, that shit happens in real life.
If you really want to like zoom out and abstract, it's really not all that different from like feeding birds bread.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm invested. Go ahead.
So if you're a human being, you have access to food. In this case, you're paralleling food access to wealth.
Righto.
Okay. And so if you're like a duck, you don't exactly have a grocery store. You know, you got to go around and hunt.
And a duck walked up
right?
to the lemonade. Go ahead.
And to the man, run the stand.
Hey,
where
are the fucking grapes?
Got any grapes? Right? Okay. So if you're a duck and you're going around hunting for grapes, you know, and somebody comes along and is like, hey, dude, I've got this stuff. I'll just fucking tear it to pieces because I don't give a shit about it, and I'll feed it to you, and you'll run over and eat every single speck of it because to you, this is a survival, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't even realize that you, in this case, is the duck, that if the duck eats that bread, it's going to swell up in its stomach and it's going to die. Mm-hmm. But if you're the one throwing the bread, it's fucking hilarious. And so if you're a rich person throwing bread or throwing money, throwing some bread,
throwing that bread
around, right? And all these little poor people come rushing around for their survival. It's really not all that different. It's just that we don't think about it in that context when we think about it viewed towards other people.
Yeah.
But when you say something like that, what I hear is, haha, these animals are being cruel to these other animals. And I'm like, damn, dude, that's nature. Like...
Yeah, but I feel like cruelty in that viewpoint is restricted to people. Because I don't think nature is cruel.
Okay.
I think nature just functions as it does naturally.
I don't think cruelty has to be intentional. Like, I think cruelty is an experience by the one doing the experiencing.
Yeah, but that's why I think it's intrinsically human, because I don't think, like,
Okay.
the ducks is a perfect example.
Yeah.
If there are children in the room, brace yourselves. But the history of, like, the evolution, like, the reproductive evolution of ducks.
Well, but that's cruel. But that's cruel.
That's what I mean. But does the female duck perceive it as cruelty?
I think that the experience itself is cruel.
That was the cat. Punk, what do you think? Not a thought behind those eyes.
Thanks, Punk. Like, I think we're getting caught up in the words. I don't think. I don't think.
Same.
Right?
It's a lot easier.
My opinion is that cruelty is a state of something, not that it is a perception, not that it is a opinion, that it is a state. Like, it is a state of cruelty. So, like, you're being forced to endure something that you don't want to. What I mean by don't want to, I mean, like, you're a duck being forced to reproduce, right?
Yeah.
In this case. That is an act of cruelty. It's biologically necessary, right? It's evolutionary selected for, but it's a cruel act. Now, then that's a human making that decision.
Yeah.
Right. But if a tree falls down in the middle of the woods, crushes the back of a deer, the deer slowly starves to death over the course of a week or two. That's cruel. That's completely removed from any human element, but it is still cruelty. It is the act itself is cruel.
Okay. Yeah, I think, which has been a common theme in some of these episodes, is language.
It's tough.
Doesn't do justice in every kind of.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I hope eventually, I don't know if, like, aided by technology or something, that communication changes.
It will.
Because,
probably.
like, even you and me speak the same language. And some things get lost in, the translation of thought to spoken word.
Yeah.
Think about how much worse it is when you're going language to language, culture to culture.
Yeah. Yep.
But to kind of go with that, is it then, so kind of like the ends justify the means things, where your definition of cruelty weighs into it. As an example, if I don't know if cats do this, but other animals, like, they'll have a bunch of kids and then they'll eat the runts. That way the mom has sustenance to keep the other, half of the litter alive.
Well, I would say that could be cruel, but I don't think that we should attach any emotion to cruelty.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think cruelty is any, how do I want to put this? Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how I want to word it.
No, I got you.
Like, cruelty isn't inherently bad, but it also isn't inherently good. It just is.
Okay.
Like, cruelty is just, I don't know, it's like a necessity maybe.
So, I think a good way to go about this, because it's a common thing in, like, our society, is cruel and unusual punishment. So, what would, like, unusual is less ambiguous.
Yeah. Well, I think cruelty emerges from the ability to experience the world and the ability to not want an experience.
Do you think you could link, is cruelty totally separate in your mind from, like, morality?
Yes.
Like,
because
it's immoral to do this thing.
There's no morality at play when, like, a rock falls and crushes the leg of a goat, like a mountain goat. Like, there's no morality at play there. That's just a random act of nature, cause and effect.
And it's cruel.
But it's not cruel because it's random. It's not cruel because it happened. It's cruel because the goat is able to experience pain and do nothing about it.
So cruelty is experiencing, I guess to dumb it down, pain, or...
I think cruelty is just, and again, I've not thought about this, so this is not, like, I'm totally open to the idea that I'm just talking nonsense right here, okay?
Hey, feel free to attack him.
Totally open to the idea that I'm just fucking wrong, okay? But I don't have a dictionary in front of me, so, but my intuition, how about that, is that cruelty comes from the ability to experience something and have that experience be out of its own control and also not wanted.
Yeah.
Right? And so you could,
I can go with that.
And like, so if you could be, really lucky through circumstances, but circumstances can also be cruel.
The world is a cruel, cruel place.
Yeah. I mean, none of us are born, right? Excuse me, none of us,
sure
yeah, everyone's born. None of us asked to be born, depending on, your perception or whatever. But nobody like asked their, hey mom, pop me out in 9 months, yeah? Like that just doesn't happen. And so the act of birth, from the perspective of the child, could be considered cruel.
Mm. Yeah, if you are thrusted into a cruel world, that in itself is cruelty.
Right, yeah. And so it's complicated. But to speak more to your point on words being stupid, like there's probably a word that is better, that does a better job capturing this explanation than cruelty. I just might not know what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's person to person. Like, words are given power through the person using them, which is the big issue because, and this is a good tangent into, like, current social issues.
Yeah.
Where a word, same word used by two different people, even in the same context, can have two totally different meanings internally.
Yeah.
This isn't an example of that, but this is an example of people using words that to one person's like, well, it's just a word. I don't understand the weight of it. And the other person's like, you can't say that.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've seen this recently. And I know little to nothing about it, but that's all I need to know about it, is this woman called a child the N-word because a child, like a baby, like probably between, I don't know, 1 and 3.
Sure.
To call this kid the N-word for stealing something out of, like, her kid's bag at, like, a public park. So
I'm not sure I follow, but okay.
So, here's the scenario.
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, I didn't do any research beforehand, but
Great.
that's all you see.
Okay.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, I don't actually know what I'm talking about.
And it blew up where, like, there's this park setting, the mom's there with her kids, there's a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
And this one kid, who is of darker skin tone, stole something out of this woman's bag, or the kid's bag.
Sure.
And the woman, like, had a freak out and then called the kid the N-word.
Why?
Because she's a piece of shit.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Because she's a piece of shit. And I don't know if this was her excuse, but so many fuckwits will be like, oh, freedom of speech, I can say what I want. It's like, yeah, that doesn't mean you should.
Freedom of speech, not freedom of consequence.
Yeah, exactly. But and this is where the next part comes in, the consequence. I don't know if they're suing or whatever legal issue is, but she has, not a GoFundMe, but like a similar platform.
Okay.
She has made thousands of dollars in donations, and whatever website it is on, they can type in a comment like $5. Hey, you're doing great.
Oh, I don't even want to
oh my god.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of fucking racist, horrible people.
Cat, why are
Come
people
here,
racist?
Puck.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm not surprised in the slightest, but that's fucked.
But like, she's making money off of doing this horrible, and like, you know what?
Let me introduce you to this novel concept. It's called politics. Okay, they make tons of money off of horrendous shit, and then they just lie to the population who buy into it, hook, line, and sinker. So, got some bad news.
And it's a factor in the internet to that thing. Like, I hope that these are just a bunch of fucking trolls. Where it's like, wouldn't it be funny if I donated $100 to this woman and said like some, like, horribly outlandish, vile thing?
Yeah. But
like, I hope they're just like, oh, this would be so funny. It's so horrible, as opposed to white power. Hell yeah. I hope that also. But my concern is, you ever like ironically use a word, like, haha, that's lit, yo. That's lit. And then you start to use it unironically. Oh, yeah.
Like, so my worry is that same concept applies here, where the bunch of trolls open the window for everyday people to make those same comments without necessarily understanding it as a troll, and they think it's legitimate. They buy into that idea legitimately, and then that troll cycle just has to now go more extreme And you just end up keep pushing the window further and further and further.
Yeah.
And look at that. Look at the past 10 years through that lens, and holy shit, it's like you could predict the entire play. Like this is a screenwrite in progress, and we all know the story. Like, it's probably wild.
On the theme of language, there's this guy, I can't remember his name, but there's this guy I follow on Instagram who, for lack of a better term, he's like a language major.
Sure. Expert.
So
Professor now.
He goes into such interesting detail of like language, the history of words, like the psychology of language. Yeah. And it's crazy, like, because that's an example of it when you were saying, like, people use a word ironically, and then all of a sudden it becomes unironic while also kind of bastardizing the original, like, meaning.
Irony of it,
And that's just a common theme in language. And it's exacerbated. I hope I'm using that word right. Quick tangent. Sometimes worse. I use words that, like, this is a good word, and I say it, and I'm like, that probably isn't what I fucking meant. Yeah. Regardless.
The difficulty in language. I think you are using that one. It's to, like, expedite and also make worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So technology, social media interaction across nations and language barriers. That worsens it so much quicker.
Just, like, literally is another good example of this, right? That's literally fucking. First of all, it is not true.
I'm literally dead.
Yeah.
No, you ain't.
Yep.
Not yet.
Not a great use case. I almost did it again, but the wow, I got stuck on literally. I forgot where my train of thought went.
I'll do a tangent. Don't think about it. Pop in your head. Quick tips and tricks. If you are about to say something and you forget what you're going to say, empty your mind. It will come back. 100% of the time, it works for me.
That's phenomenal advice. It is not working for me.
Hey, it worked for me. You think about that.
Yeah.
Quick tidbit. Hello is a fairly new word.
Okay.
Hello was started by not Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell, I believe, invented, air quotes, the telephone.
Okay.
He wanted people to say ahoy as a greeting. But I think it was Edison? I don't know.
The timelines are all there, I think.
Yeah. Edison is like, no, we're going to say hello.
Gotcha.
But originally, hello was like an exclamation, like surprise, which is interesting because you see that less common than like as a greeting, but it's like, I mean, I do it all the time. If you're like playing a video game and you get fucking sniped, you go, hello, what happened?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, oh, hello, like, whoa.
Yeah. Hello.
I did remember.
That would be great if it's like, ahoy!
Yeah, like you're fucking
ahoy!
Pirate captain.
Fuck, that's what I'm gonna do. If anyone calls me, ahoy!
I'm just trying to play truth to the original creator's intentions, you know. Like I'm just trying to.
Hello.
Carry some water for the guy. Hello. But we were talking about how technology was going to disrupt like everything, loosely, and that was where I was going to go. Just the other day, I think it was the Google CEO was announcing how their model of like the next AI systems are going to replace software. That you're not going to. So instead of having Excel and Microsoft Word and Google Docs or whatever, they're going to just have the large language model that is going to be able to do all of that internally. Kind of like how you build a game system so that you can build the game inside of. Okay, but if you have the game system, it's a universal game system that you can build any game inside of that system, then you don't need to have like a Nintendo or an Xbox or a computer, because all of those capabilities are hard embedded inside of the one system.
Wouldn't that like start like a monopoly?
Yeah. And it would also crush so think of any type of job that does any type of Excel, any type of program, any type of software, right? All of that goes away. And is controlled by one company. So it's like the monopoly of monopolies.
See, I mean, that's when we would be coming to, what's the political, like, or the governmental orientation where it's ruled by a company?
I think it's a technocracy.
because I mean that's more specific where it's a tech body, a tech company.
Oligarchy is by the super rich. Corpo.
Corporate. Regardless,
I don't know.
But yeah, well, that's interesting.
Like cyberpunk.
Yeah. It's interesting you brought that up because I saw somewhere recently. Actually, no, So there's a bridge on my commute to work, where these people, maybe I think Thursdays or Fridays, a group of people will go up there and on the wire fence put up a banner or something, and I kind of like it 'cause a few times it's been deport Musk. Or those kind of messages. And recently
the trolls.
It was less automated jobs, more employment.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's an interesting idea because it's on paper it would be nice if most jobs were automated, because then maybe we'd be encroaching on the territory of you don't have to spend 50 hours of your week toiling away for a company.
Yeah. Yep.
But also not on paper. Yeah, a vast majority of people are still going to need jobs. It's that just means a good amount of people are not going to have them.
This is a conversation that is difficult to have without a couple of starting guidelines, I guess. You say that. It's good for people to have jobs in reality, right? When applied, people need things to do.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
The question isn't at a certain level. Okay, the question isn't people need jobs. The question is the statement isn't people need jobs. The statement is people need, is people need to be busy, right? They need to value their activities.
Yeah.
One way or another, and our culture gets that value through money, right? Through spending, through wealth.
Yeah.
That's how we validate ourselves. If you're considered to be successful if you have capital, wealth. Okay, but that's also really new. We can thank the Dutch for that. Thank you, Dutch.
The Dutch.
The Dutch. And their East India Trading Company specifically. But whatever. This is really new. It wasn't always that way, and it was probably never that way ever in the entire history of all of humankind. And you can say, well, Alex, that's why we have current tech now, because we're doing it through capitalism, which chooses and selects for the more advanced blah, 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 progress, consumption, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But
regardless of
we
effect on the planet.
Well, that's what, exactly. But we also, never had artificial general intelligence before. That's new. That's never happened. Well, it probably never happened.
Shockingly new.
Yeah, and so we have to first recognize that this is a lot like the first time anybody put a battery in a power drill and realized that you don't need to hand screw it with your wrist. You can just pull the trigger and done. Right.
Right.
So now, anytime you go to any type of construction site and you see somebody walking around putting in everything with a hammer or with hand tools, you're something is horribly wrong.
What are you, fucking Amish?
Something's horribly wrong here. Yeah. Well, but that's the other side thing. You can go the other way, and have an entire town of Amish people will build a building in less than 24 hours that would take a modern workforce a week or two. Okay. So there's trade-offs, but if you could get the Amish style work ethic.
Yeah.
Yep. With the modern tools, you'd be able to do crazy shit that much more. So, but when you apply that to a economy scale on a global level, and you factor in AI as the one as directing the Amish work ethic, so to speak. Man, crazy shit doesn't even begin to describe it. And that's why I'm going to push back a little bit on the whole less automation, more jobs, more labor. That's not. You can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle, into the tube. The cat is out of the bag here. This is a zero-sum game, especially in this current climate environment.
Yeah, Pandora's box has already been opened.
And it's we can keep sticking our head in the box looking for some hope, but nothing else is there.
Yeah.
And so I hear what you're saying on the whole on paper and practice, but so much of these concepts don't apply once artificial intelligence takes off, and it's already there. Like, quick tangent, side rant.
Yep.
So much of this whole, but we're going to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Why?
Also, we're not.
Also, we're not. But like, even just the thought processes don't make any sense. We are entering into a world where you can take an idea. If you can articulate that idea, it can become reality. And sentence.
Almost immediately.
Almost immediately. And I mean, like, I could take. This is something I did. I took like a 900-page document that was from all of my work emails that I just needed to clear my space.
Right.
I wanted to archive them so that I still had access to them, but I didn't want them to take up any of my hard drive. So I was like, whatever. I'll just, take 1,000 emails, convert them to 1,000-page PDF, convert that 1,000-page PDF, 1,000 individual 1,000-page PDFs into one PDF. Take that one PDF. Have an AI turn it into a matrix so that I can then get into that information if I wanted to later on. Mm-hmm. It took 2 minutes. It took 2 minutes. Like, we're talking. It would have taken days, like literally days worth of full 8-hour days of taking this email, reading it out, okay, cool, extracting the information, putting it back in, okay, cool, updating it to make sure that all the metadata is correct, like the time, the date, who sent it, who got it, what was the content. We're talking the entire series of Harry Potter here. It was able to read and then catalog in 2 minutes.
It's funny because to me, it's like the equivalent of like monk monasteries copying the Bible, like word for word, page for page, by written hand.
Yeah.
Compared to like the printing press.
Yeah. That is a phenomenal. That is a great comparison.
But also, it's an understatement.
Yes.
Because it's more like handwriting and copying the Bible to
the internet.
Printing it out from fucking Google Docs.
Yeah.
Because and then like we where we used to work, the coffee shop at New Haven, across the street, I called them the Brain Blast or the Brain Squad or whatever. Across the street,
the quantum computing.
Yeah, there was a group of just fucking brainiacs who would pop in every now and again.
Yep.
And they worked on quantum. Like, I don't know if they were building a quantum computer or just quantum mechanics, whatever it is.
They were working on, I believe they were working on quantum gates. So those are like, how you have bits, 1 bit, 2 bit, 3 bit, 4 bit. This is like, we can have a gate which is like, it could be 1 or 0, and also everything in between.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of like create it, and I don't understand it.
That's not even common practice. But we can, like you were saying, we could do crazy shit like that in a matter of minutes. If we had quantum compute, from my limited understanding, it'd take done.
Well, the thing that's interesting, too, is you can use these LLMs to simulate the effect of a quantum computer that is as accurate as a quantum computer.
Yeah.
But Connor, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. I can do 1,000. I can run a quantum machine that can do 10 operations at the same time. Okay, 1 + 1, 2 + 2, 3 + 3, at the same time. So that adds it all up together. I can then go to this AI and say, hey, this is the quantum computer. This is how it's going to do. What is the output? They both give the same output in the same time. Doesn't make any fucking sense. That's absurd. That's absurd. Hey, here's a classical computing system. It's going to take 10,000 years to do this calculation. Okay? Some like geo-orbiting syncratic body motion, blah, blah, blah. Fancy words. Okay? Complicated numbers. Okay, the AI can do it in 10 hours. It would have taken a classical computer 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Well, you ask the AI system, hey, what's the output going to be? It's going to give you the same answer as the quantum computer. It's going to give it to you in, 2 minutes.
To use another example of that, I remember, because you and I both use Midjourney.
Yeah.
Hey, Midjourney, sponsor us. I don't know if they even do that shit.
They
Regardless, we've been using it since like maybe I don't want to say alpha, but definitely 1.0.
I was for sure. Yeah.
I mean, you got me onto it, but that was like when it started.
Yeah.
It's like I think it's at 7.2 now.
Regardless, it's in 7, but and it was originally just like a Discord app.
Yeah. Like, so I remember me fumbling around with it, and I'm like, I'm trying to like get like as close to what my brain wants into speaking to this AI.
Yeah.
But you were using an AI to describe. So it went instead of from you to Midjourney, it went from you to another AI to the Midjourney AI because now it's 2 AIs talking.
Yeah.
Well, like one kind of lacked the resources to interpret perfectly, but you used another machine.
Yeah.
So it could talk to that machine. That kind of like
encapsulates.
It encapsulates that point because if you're like you gave your work stuff to the AI and it took how much time, it's the same thing as language. Well, like my thoughts to go to language to come out of my mouth.
Yep.
What if instead it's just your brain doing it all for you?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what the AI is doing, where it's like instead of you like manually going through, typing stuff on the computer, instead the computer is like, oh, I know how to like expedite all of the computing stuff.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to go from one medium to the other.
Yep.
And that's right now. Give it 2 years.
We're in that trend. That's what I was talking about before with the whole software stuff. Like, we're in that. We're swimming in those waters right now, and we're finding out, like, we've dipped our toes in, and now we're like, okay, can we swim in here, or is it too shallow, or is it too deep? And there's other stuff in here with us that we might not want to be a part of, right? So yeah, it's complicated, for sure. But the other interesting thing that you touched on there too is that one of the reasons why I was doing the whole talk to the AI to build the prompt to send to the AI thing is that I can tell the system what works best, and then I don't have to remember all that nitty-gritty, like detail stuff. So I can tell, hey, if I want the subject to be in focus, in frame, but also to have a background that's clear enough that I can see some detail work. There's a specific type of like focal length. There's a specific type of camera lens. There's a specific type of like aspect ratio for the image. And this is all like the technical detailed stuff that me being your non-computer or non-camera person, that I don't have an idea. Like, what's a DSLR camera? I don't know. What's the difference between a DSLR and like an infrared? Probably a lens filter, but I don't know like any of that stuff. But the machine does. And so I could say, hey, I want to have a picture of a squirrel on a tree. I want to be able to see the squirrel's texture because I want the squirrel to be like a weird kind of like emerald color, maybe with some like ephemeral fuzz underneath it, right? And it's going to go, cool, that's probably a macro shot. You're going to want a macro lens. The best macro lens in the market's this type. I'll throw that word in there. That has to be using this camera type. That'll get in there. Like, ephemeral's good, green's good. What is a hue of green that is both ephemeral and also is kind of emerald color? That's a perfect, okay, let's get that in there. That's actually like a hex code color, so now you can reference like, but it's able to just access and pull from this textural depth of context that we just don't have access to. Or that it would take longer for us to enter it in because we have to spend time thinking about it.
Now, I want to dumb that down.
That was pretty dumb.
But like just to really simplify it.
Yeah.
I feel like us having AIs. So like us and the computer.
Yeah.
We are an orangutan.
Yeah.
The computer is a hammer.
Okay.
And then like the material of like computing is wood.
Sure.
Stick with me here.
I'm trying.
So you put that orangutan on a job site.
Yep.
And he's like, okay, if I put a nail through 2 pieces of wood, they're going to stick together.
Okay. That's a pretty smart orangutan. Most orangutans don't make it that far.
Actually, they get
They
close.
do not.
I've seen some videos.
I have seen the same videos. They know how to use a
Give
hammer.
the orangutans a chance.
They haven't quite figured out how to hold the nail at the same time.
They're in the Stone Age.
They are, yeah.
But
comfortably.
AI is knowing, like, complex joints like a dovetail joint.
Yep, okay.
Where it's like, you're still putting 2 pieces of wood together, but now they're strong.
Yeah.
I feel like if AI becomes like sentient, if you will,
Sure.
in the way that like humans operate,
Okay.
they'll be like, you guys are so dumb. Like, you're asking me to generate a picture of a green squirrel, where it's like, give me like the camera quality, give me like all this stuff.
What about the time of day? What about the lighting effects?
Yeah.
Is it left or right hemisphere? Like, what are we talking about?
But us as the orangutan with the hammer's like, put the woods together. That's what I want.
I want green squirrel smack, and the computer's like, ah.
Where like,
what?
and I think this is a very important thing to keep in your mind when you're doing AI stuff. Like, for example, if you're talking to ChatGPT,
sure.
Like, how should I vote this election?
Ugh.
You should definitely ask AIs about objective things.
No, you should not.
Well, because I'm saying...
Go ahead, keep going.
So, like, if you're going to...
No.
Say you're like, well...
Go ahead.
Let me get through this.
Yeah.
Then rip me apart.
I'm staying with it. I'm staying with it.
So say you're like, I'm writing... Or, like, I need to solve this math equation.
Perfect.
So, like, here is my data.
Yep.
Here's the formula.
Yep.
But, like, for me to do it on, like, pen and paper, it would take however much time.
Yeah.
If you then ask the AI, hey, solve this, that is an objective thing. Math, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, but no, not really.
Well, the key of this is, like, don't ask them to form an opinion for you based on research, because some learning models are kind of swayed by whatever models they're working off of.
The inherent bias, yeah. But they're also really bad at math.
Are they?
Yeah.
Surely one of them's gotta be better.
I mean, yeah, sure, but like better.
But do you get the gist of what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Because there's some people where it's like, oh, I'm writing an essay about like the morality of abortion.
Yeah.
And you do it solely based off of like an AI. That, first of all, that defeats the purpose, because it's about your opinion.
Yeah.
Like, you as a human are supposed to take in this evidence and then form your own opinion.
Oh, wow. It's so weird, because I think it's actually kind of like... I'm going to say what you said.
Yeah.
Make sure that we're on the same page.
The floor is yours.
That... So I think, if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that the best use case for these AI systems is to collect and organize objective data, rather than to use it to kind of like collect opinions.
Yeah, I think objective information or facts, but the problem with that is you really need to know what are solid facts and what aren't. But yeah, go ahead.
So like, a good case would be, I want to plan an event this weekend based on the weather, what would be an optimal location and time. And then the AI system is going to go...
The dumpster on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah. Well, it's going to say, okay, well, this is the weather forecast in this area. Based on that information, you should be fine in this general region in this general time.
Right.
That's a good case.
Uh-huh.
A bad case would be, I want to have an event. It's going to mean a lot to me. Where should I have the event? And it's going to go here. And you're going to go, great. But there's not any, like, this is an incredibly important event for you. Presumably, it's an emotionally important event for you. You're not going to have any input in where that event takes place?
That it's not going to be important to you.
Right. And so you kind of remove, is kind of how I'm interpreting that. Like, don't ask for, hey, who should I vote for? Because it's going to have an inherent bias based on whoever made it.
Yeah.
But if you could then say, hey, I have to decide who I want to vote for. Can you give me the actualized results of both of these contestants? And by that I mean, can you show me what they've done, and not what they've said, not their opinion, but can you show me what they've done, and collect and use that? So it's like, gather the evidence for me. Don't tell me how to feel about it.
Yeah, but that's the problem with certain models. Like, there's a joke of like, there's a lot of people do content on it where like you'll have like one. Like, you'll ask the same question to 3 different AIs.
You'll get 3 different answers.
And Google is one way, and whatever's the other. And then Bing is like, the best way, like, oh, my father's having a heart attack. What should I do?
Yeah.
Google's like, well, give him a painkiller, have him chew it.
Yeah.
And the other one's like, begin heart or chest compressions immediately. And Bing is like, burn the body, bury it in the backyard.
Get that man some broccoli.
So it's like,
you're like, what?
Hey, I want to have, like, I'm looking for a wedding venue for my wedding next year. And they don't know you.
At all, yeah.
But, like, ChatGPT is like, well, there's a cathedral down the road. And the other one's like, there's a venue in Hawaii that's very popular.
Yep.
And Bing is like, go to Vegas.
The Taj Mahal.
So
you're like, what?
There's no broad spanning. I think AIs right now are kind of in their like stone age, where it's like, well, we're all influenced by the companies or the people or like the subreddit we work off of. When they hit like the Industrial Revolution, they're gonna be like, oh, I'm a fully like autonomous AI.
I think that's where we are now. I think we're either at or brushing up against with the Industrial Revolution. I don't think. How about this? Not the Industrial Revolution. How about the Great Enlightenment, where the time of like Leonardo da Vinci, and like the realization of like the sciences and mathematics and like the golden age of you know.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of at that era where we haven't quite figured out how to turn steam powered engines into like global electric web systems, but we can start to see that technology through things like the what is this?
Morse code?
Yeah, no. Well, yes, but what do you apply that with?
Yeah, I forgot the actual. I don't know the
wow.
name, but I mean, unless you're, I assume maybe that's lost to Gen Z or Gen Alpha, but
well, maybe.
Beep 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 beep. It's a button.
Yeah, wow. Whatever.
I have no clue.
Fuck, dude, I'm annoyed I forgot it.
Maybe it'll come to you.
Yeah, but anyway, but like so we get like glimpses of like long distance phone calls through that type of tech, where you're like, okay, we can send a signal from point A to point B, and it doesn't really matter how far away that signal is; it can be on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
We kind of get a glimpse at that level in much the same way as we now do with these AI systems, and like you have things like AI agents that will build you entire websites, or you have different software that let you do things like an automation workflow, where something I've been exploring is I have a dedicated email address for emails that I get that have PDFs attached, so that when any email lands in my inbox, it gets immediately scanned to see if it has a PDF attached. If it has a PDF, it gets yanked, processed, blah blah blah. It goes through this whole like fucking thing, and you can just build it out like nodes, like a red string on a corkboard, right? Like a crazy conspiracy mesh. But you can do that where each of those is like a thing. So, is this a number? Yes. Okay, cool. How many digits is in that number? 4. Okay, cool. What is the first number? What is the second? What is the third? What is the fourth? Okay, cool. And then like those all correlate to other things, and so you can nest information. So if the first number is even, it means this. If it's between this range 1 to 3, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so you can build these internal logical processes through nothing but if else, if else, yes, no, haha, true, false, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
It takes time. It's not clean. It's not pretty, but it works.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, is to use it as a tool to expedite, not so much as a tool to make your decisions for you. And I like, that's what I'm, and I haven't done enough research, but I don't think there is a specific AI for it, but like, I would love, so like when I'm doing metalworking, for example, I want to make like a bust of an animal.
Okay.
But I want to make it like very geometric.
Yeah.
So a lot of hard angles and like concrete shapes. I think it'll be easy for an AI for me to get like a 3D model of a wolf, for example. Give it to that AI. It's like, hey, I need the general dimensions of like 2 feet by 3 feet.
Yeah.
And then make it like geometrical, where like at the most you have 4-sided shapes.
Like low polygon count.
Yeah, exactly. Low poly. I should give it that base information, and then it just does all of like the like hard math for me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, in order to do that, we'll break it down. Like, how many pieces do you want? Like 20, 30, 40 pieces. Okay, we'll go 40. All right, now I'm going to go by those broad dimensions.
Yeah.
Just load the poly count on the 3D model, and then give you individual piece markings.
Yeah.
For, all the dimensions.
Yeah.
And then cut those out in a CNC and then weld them up.
I think that is, if not here already, it's probably just not been put together in that way. Like,
or it just hasn't been commercialized yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I want with AI. I don't want to, I'm not in fucking school anymore. Even if I was, I feel like I wouldn't fall into the temptation of, hey, ChatGPT, write this thing for me.
See, I think that there's, dude, that's the worst. Because, like, I have strong opinions on this as somebody who is in this space a lot. And I think that if it's done right, AI in the school systems could be the best thing that has ever happened to schools.
Because what's a lot of issues in the school system is the people who fuck it up.
Yeah, like, and plus, not everybody learns the same way. Everything has different learning speeds. There was one study, and I am headline reading here. I haven't actually read the paper itself, but
disclaimer: we don't nothing.
Yeah, I don't know anything except that I know nothing. Thank you.
I love that quote.
Yeah, Socrates, I think. But
Sacre Blue, Socrates.
Socrates.
God, what a throwback.
Yeah.
Fucking epic rap battles.
Oh.
You don't know nothing about that, son.
But a bowl is most useful when it is empty. Ah, fuck your bowl.
Hey, yo, what the fuck you talking? So people learn differently.
People learn differently, and they learn at different speeds. And so there was this one paper where they were, I want to say it was like 6th graders or 8th graders, somewhere in there. But they were able to take their, I think it was math. So they were able to go ahead. I think it was 2 years worth of curriculum in like 2 hours or like 6 hours. It was like in the span of a day, they were able to learn 2 years worth of their curriculum, just because when you have kids that just get it, like, especially at those earlier levels, the more fundamental years, what you're doing is you're establishing these foundations. So if you can figure out how the kid thinks, how he understands the world through interactions with him, you can then reintroduce ideas tailored for his specific way of understanding.
Yeah.
He really likes trains. Well, did you know that if you want to find how fast your train is going, you take its distance and the time it took there, and you divide it, and that's how you get its velocity? That's a crazy... I don't think that's actually like 1-to-1, but like that's distance over rate of change, right?
Yeah. I'm glad you remember something from school. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. But
E equals MC squared.
Yeah. Energy equals mass times the universal constant of light times the universal constant of light.
I love like delving in, because I used to love math. I love delving back into like simple algebra. Yeah. Like at work, I was trying to figure out like one side of a triangle.
The Pythagorean.
And then like, because whoever was doing the drawings didn't like left out so much information. I love solving puzzles at work.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I'll use this as a like metric. Basically, I was using a ruler.
Yeah.
And putting it over the drawing. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like try to transcribe this. And I'm doing math, but it's like fragments of my memory. I'm like, this works. I just can't fucking remember how.
Volumes.
But to your point,
I
think what I'm hearing you saying is you almost have to engage with a person. Like, in order to optimize their learning capability, you have to, not to use this as a negative term, but like pander to them.
Yeah.
Into something that they're passionate about.
Obviously.
And
like fucking obviously.
That is important, because even in things that are like oh, here's the way to get to this answer. Math, right?
Yeah.
You ever be in math class and they're like, oh, you solved it, but not the way I want you to.
Yeah, show your work.
Solve it but you show work. It's like, well, this is the right way to do the right way.
Yeah.
But either way, they get to that point. So like even in something that is so straightforward as math, you still need that student to want to do it in their own way in order to excel at it.
Yes, but also a lot of the time when that happens, there's a reason. Like, and sometimes it's stupid, but like sometimes it's really important. And I'm trying to think of an exact example, but I it's not coming to me, so I'll just use generalizations. Earlier I mentioned that a lot of earlier like foundational topic stuff, right? So you're learning it because it's important for other things.
Yeah.
Like you don't necessarily need to learn, you don't necessarily have any real reason to learn like calculus in high school. You're not going to be using it unless you are going to be using it all the fucking time because you're like an engineer or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Fucking engineers.
Fucking engineers, dude. They're the worst. They need to show their work more.
What a like on paper in practice situation.
Yeah.
I was like, it makes sense mathematically, and then I'm welding, and I was like, why would you?
Why would you ever? Yeah. How am I supposed to get the fucking welder flame there?
Do you think I can fit my fucking hand in a 2-inch? No. Why?
Yeah.
But the math.
The math.
Why don't you come into my office and I'll fucking show you?
The engineer versus like the tech who, hey, the math is showing that you need to have this like internal section hollowed out, but that would need a 12-axis lathe, which doesn't exist. How are we gonna make it spin inside of that? It's impossible. Redo it.
And they're like, well, you gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
Why do I have to fucking solve it for you?
Tangent aside.
Yes.
Tangent aside. Yeah. Yes, sometimes that happens where, but I got the right answer. Yeah, but you got the right answer using the wrong method. Yeah, sometimes that doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah.
Sometimes that matters more than anything else.
Yeah.
Like sometimes solving it, order of application, for example, I'm gonna fuck this up. PEMDAS, yeah. Where you have your parentheses, you have your
parentheses, not equation. Parentheses, exponent.
Exponent. Yeah. See, exponent, PEM, multiplication, division,
addition, subtraction.
PEMDAS.
PEMDAS.
So like that and that kind of thing, it's really important because that's how we've kind of agreed numbers work. But it's also really important if you go to like a coordinate-free system. So that's more like ratios, where it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't really matter if it's 1 gallon or 10 gallons. It matters that for every 1 gallon, there's 5 tacos or whatever. And so 1 and 5 is the same as 10 and 50. You don't necessarily care about any individual, you care about the relationship between the two.
Gotcha.
And so like sometimes it's like, well, you got the right answer because you're working in that kind of relationship space, but you're not actually working in the actual equation space, and so you can make mistakes there, which is another whole kind of other weird topic of like how much of math is math and how much of math is like constants and relationships and ratios and stuff. But that's more abstracted from this.
I wonder who our audience is going to be like, because we're
all
fucking all over the place.
Yeah.
And that being said, let's backtrack all the way to the beginning.
Yeah. 100 men or a bear?
100 men versus a gorilla.
A gorilla. Yeah.
I want a fandom that like breaks down each episode. Like I think we talked about it last episode, either on or off camera, where it's like they started here and then they ended here.
How did we get here?
They were talking about a gorilla versus 100 men, and then they were talking about math and like higher thing. How the fuck?
Pythagorean theorem? What are we talking about?
To kind of go towards the root of content creation and you're just picking up on the latest fad.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100 men eventually would kill a silverback gorilla.
With some caveats, right?
With some caveats.
If you're 100 dudes fighting them one at a time, you're fucking idiots and you're all dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
one at a time, you're fucking dumb.
I think I would say more people would die than if you just bum rushed them. It's like think back to like OG Assassin's Creed, where for some reason every guard took their time.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I'm surrounded by 20. Okay, counter, dead. Counter, dead. As opposed to, hey guys, let's attack him. Swing it once.
Yeah, he can't block from every direction at the same time, right? So, and that's exactly how they would win. Is you send 5 dudes up front to distract him, while 20 dudes circle from behind, and maybe one or two of those 5 dudes get grabbed. Sorry.
Oh, a gorilla would. Decimate people by terrifying them.
Oh, dude, they just start ripping them in half. But
literally.
This one guy gets to his eyes though. Gouges his eyes out, rips his nose open, really inconveniences the motherfucker.
Or you just wait until it has a heart attack. Because how long would? Yeah, you just keep exhausting it until its body gives up. Yeah. But how?
Probably pretty quick.
And that's how
big animal.
Humans. That's how we've gotten to the point where we are, top of the food chain, if you will.
We just run and kite the damn thing.
Yeah, you kite it. It's pack mentality and endurance.
Well, yeah, because I'll tell you what. Who do you think has a better shot, 100 men or 100 wolves?
Versus 100 men versus 100 wolves?
No, 100 versus the gorilla. Like a gorilla versus 100 men or a gorilla versus 100 wolves?
Well, if we're taking the stats of a Canadian gray wolf,
sure.
I want to say it's the biggest one where it stands 6 feet tall on all fours.
Then we're not doing that. We're doing a
gorilla versus
wolf.
100 pit bulls.
Yeah, but even then, it doesn't have to be a wolf. It could be like a cat. What I'm pointing towards is that when you think about it in the language of pack dynamics, 100 wolves versus a gorilla, your brain goes, those wolves are going to work together. That gorilla's toast.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, we don't have that intention with people.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. We've descended so far from our animalistic roots.
Yeah.
Where
interesting you chose the word to descend from our animalistic roots and not we've
superseded.
Yeah, we haven't grown beyond, we've descended from them.
I will say that's a good point because that is kind of how I think nowadays, where I almost think our natural selves in natural settings, take away culture and society and stuff like that. I feel like that is correct for a lack of a better term.
Peak human.
Because kind of like dietary, taking care of your body, excluding poisonous stuff, which that comes with higher learning, where it's those are poisonous berries. But if you're growing things naturally that are within your dietary restrictions, your body's going to go pretty well.
Yeah.
As opposed to highly processed shit.
Yeah.
That and diets too, where I always think what's primal, therefore better. That's how I'm not saying that's an objective truth. That's how my mind works.
Because it's not.
But you the caveman diet where you eat meat, eggs, fruit, no not carbs or bread or something like that.
Yeah.
To me, I'm oh, that's natural. That's healthy.
That's pre-hunter-gatherer society foods. So what you're telling me is you actually think that all of humankind needs to divert back to before we had civilization.
That is not that specifically.
Nutritionally.
I'm just saying that's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
And it's similar to again, I understand the faults in it, but this is just where my mind goes.
No, yeah.
Where even concept marriage.
Sure.
2 people forming a bond in a community with other people who are it's a collective.
Your audio is going to be awful.
Huh? Why?
Because you're just waving.
Hello?
You're waving it around. Go ahead. Two individuals.
Yeah.
In a community, they
that
get married.
Is natural, if you will.
Okay.
And it produces like a healthier community.
What do you mean? Wait, hold on. I thought we're talking about marriage.
Well, I mean, the idea of not
Or like a family unit.
Yes,
Okay.
I think I'm more like the family bonding.
Okay.
Using the word marriage.
So you're kind of equating this to like the whole "it takes a village to raise a child."
Yeah, well,
style of,
to use an example of another animal species,
sure,
or just the idea with other animals. You have, at least from human research, you have animals that like, they pair for
emperor
life,
penguin,
or they have several mates throughout their life.
Hose.
Like I don't know, but from what I've learned, the research is, like eagles mate forever. Like
sure.
They have one coupling.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know, fucking chimpanzees have as much baby as possible. And that's a constant in those species.
Okay.
Where I feel like that is the like natural way of people, where like you breed with one, you have this family, where like you have a community on the outside, but the inside you have a household. You have the two parents and the kids.
I think that's a cultural thing, but
well, and it's hard because we can't really pull information from primitive, like pre-societal.
We kind of can. We kind of can because we do have access to pre-societal people, and we do have access to different cultures.
True,
and that's
true.
That's not a universally true thing.
I mean, maybe I'll do some research and see if when. This sounds rude, but like when civilized people go and visit like Aboriginal people.
Yeah. I think you're right in the sense that it's predominantly family units, but those units can be like multi-generational, where like you might have like the grandparents they'll have like 3 children. Those 3 children get married or have a family unit. But they still are all together. So you'll have like one family unit is really like 4 generations where you'll have the grandparents, all 3 of their children, those children's wives or mates or whatever. And then you'll have those children's children. And then usually as those children's children age, the grandparents die and the cycle kind of continues.
But now,
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so take that and then compare it to the non-natural society we live in today, where you get married and then you get divorced, then you break up the family collective.
I feel like that's not an inherent component. That's just an effect of what happens.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, and again, I'm not saying this is like a truth or anything, but like that's an example of how my mind works. Where it's like it's better to do something that is natural, but like. Again, on the theme of like the family collective and stuff like that, maybe people didn't have like one mate. Maybe, and it's hard to like draw a connection between. Well, this is what our closest animal ancestors do now.
Not to get too graphic here, but we could, the human reproductive, the human male reproductive organs shaped kind of like a shovel. Because
go ahead, yeah.
Because think about it. Think about this. People back then.
Mine ain't. But go ahead.
Think of it this way. What I mean by the shovel, it has like the kind of like the curved, like there's like a mushroom head.
Jamie, pull up a picture.
Yeah, pull up the dick, please. The point though is that you have to imagine if evolution is seeking for it's selecting for like the most, whatever. If you're a dude, you don't want that other dude spunk in there. Get that shit out. Evolution has come along, and it's just like, you know what, man?
We got you, bro.
We got 6 back to back to back here. Hold on, buddy. My shovel feature is just gonna fucking, I want to empty out that other dude, so that my spunk is the one that gets all the way to the end. So that's what I meant by shovel.
So to cover my bases, because I've learned that people love to take one thing you say and then run with it.
Me? No.
So, I can't think of an example, but you could probably pull up a video of like someone talking about like a woman's place in nature.
Yeah, right here.
So
video.
Yeah, exactly. But they'll be like, "Well, the women only carry a baby at a time, and therefore they have to take care of the baby, and then the men can leave and stuff like that. Don't take what I'm saying about thinking that stuff in that's natural is correct, because
first of all, that's wrong.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Second of all,
you could probably go like, well, he thinks things in nature are correct, so therefore he must mean that women blah 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 blah. Not what I'm saying. Yeah. Because people take it so far out of context. We're like, how do I persuade people to my heinous point of view? Okay, I'll take some like showable proof and evidence
I get what you're saying,
in biology.
Yeah.
And then no, because again, like you can't be sure how people are naturally supposed to be, because with higher learning comes kind of straying from your instincts. And I mean that like, say you're in a committed relationship with someone and you see some hot girl and you're like, I'm gonna risk it all. I'm gonna fuck this chick, even though I'm in a committed relationship.
Okay.
That might be a monkey brain thing, right? Like,
monkey brain.
Attraction, neuron activation. Let me go
dopamine.
Let me go ruin my household.
Yeah.
But a person who isn't subject to their instincts is like, no, that's a bad idea. I shouldn't do that.
I think a person that isn't subject to their... even the person who is subject to their instincts probably thinks, ooh, that's a bad idea. I probably shouldn't do that. They just do it. Like, they don't care.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a higher intelligence. I think that's just like a stupid thing.
Well, there's a toss-up, because some people... I mean, you can't get into the mind of an individual, but some people be like, oh, I had a moment of weakness, and that's why I did it. But on the inside, they're like, I do what I want. Fuck you.
Yeah. And to be clear, when I say stupid, I don't mean like, haha, dumb. I mean stupid like, come on. Like, you knew the whole time this was a bad idea. You did it anyway. That's fucking stupid.
To use a real-life example, recently in my company, I'm starting to take over, like, safety.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the safety consultant, and I'm not the safety guy.
You're the safety
guy.
But
I'm trying to, like, reaffirm, like, hey, wear your PPE, wear shit like that.
Yeah, don't stick your hand in the oil.
And I'm talking to other managers, and I'm like, I don't understand. We tell them very basic shit, and then they don't do it. It's because, by your definition, they're stupid.
Yeah.
Not they're ignorant.
Yeah.
But they're lazy, or they're this, that, and the other thing. God bless you, my child.
Thanks. Yeah, and I just don't, again, it's weird because the language issue. Like, stupid in the sense of, like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, what do you think? Perfect example. You're walking, you have headphones on, your eyes are down, you're walking on the train tracks. It's the most busy train tracks in your area. You get hit by a train. You're a fucking idiot. Mm-hmm. Every single thing about that you knew, all right? Every single part of that story that I just laid out, all 6 components, it's the busiest. You're distracted. You're not paying attention. You can't hear anything. There's a fucking train coming.
Yeah.
What are you doing on the tracks?
And you're not suicidal.
And you're not suicidal. And it was a total accident, right? It's a tragedy. Obviously. The guy... shut up. It's a tragedy. It's cruel, right? Where we started this thing. But, like, dude, you knew... the only thing that happened that surprised you is that it was you on the tracks.
This is my viewpoint for...
You put yourself on the tracks.
Road rage.
Yeah.
Where you're a fucking moron if you kill someone via road rage. Because... Say, like, pull up any video. Mm-hmm. It's a progressive thing, right?
Sure.
Or it's like yesterday I saw a video of a dude who so obviously hey, if you don't have a dash cam in your car, fucking get one because you'll be covered, or you'll have some fun videos.
You could be both, yeah.
But this dude, guy's on a bike, I think he flipped him off. Boo-hoo. And then the guy in the car obviously rams that guy.
Oh, Jesus.
So, you're in your car, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, this asshole. And you're following for,
Then you hit him with
a quarter of a mile, and he flips you off again. He's like, you know what? I'm going to kill this guy. What? Why? Because he hurt your feelings?
Because he's a fucking idiot. That's why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or and I say this too, where going back to the cheating example, if you do something in the heat of the moment and you blame it on trauma or you blame it on a lapse of judgment, that is one thing. If you consistently cheat on your spouse for 7 years,
sure,
and then you get caught and you're like, I'm so sorry, I was in a rough place, and wrong. Yep. That is not that either examples are excusable.
I was gonna say,
but that one is totally different. You have absolutely no justification because you've had so many opportunities, and like if the guilt was true and you really felt bad, you wouldn't have been in this situation at all. But for you to be like, well, I blame it on my mental health, or I blame it on my situations, or no.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's a great point too. Like, it's not there. People need to have a distinction between it's understandable but still wrong versus like kind of what the stupid point of like, no, they like to anchor this a little bit more. Like you had, if you the cheating example, if you're bad example, blah blah blah, or bad experiences in the past, so for whatever reason you have like like self-worth issues, so you have to feel validation all the time, otherwise you have like some type of internal panic attack. Like, you go to a bar, you meet up with like an old flame or whatever, it's understandable that something happens. It's not justifiable, right? You're still in the wrong. That relationship is still over. You've still fucked up. But I can understand, if nothing else, why it happened.
Yeah.
Right?
I think a good general rule, what I kind of like live by and I strongly recommend other people, is break it up into excuses and reasons. Neither are justifying a thing, but one is justified and the other one is not. If you, why are you late for work? It's like, well, I set my alarms and, I'm excusing myself because of my negligence. As opposed to, I'm late, it was my fault, like that's my reason. Yeah. You're not excusing yourself. You're just giving context to like why something went wrong.
Okay. I do see what you're saying. Yeah, I would agree.
And that's an internal thing where it's like, are you making an excuse or are you giving a reason?
Yeah. And in both of those, both of those cases where it's, whether or not it's a reason or an excuse, the consequence is still valid either way. Like these are independent of the like consequence of the action.
Yeah.
Right. So like, you're late. You're gonna get a write-up or whatever. You're gonna get a pink slip. Tisk. Whether or not it's a reason or an excuse doesn't matter. You're still getting the write-up. But it does matter in the sense of like, am I consciously aware of why this happened, or am I just projecting that out onto the world of like, woe is me. Like, so, okay, to harden this even further, did I set the alarm and then it didn't go off? Or did I not set the alarm because I forgot?
Yeah.
Like, one of these I did, but my phone updated overnight, and so it didn't go off. Reason.
Yep.
Versus, man, I forgot to plug it in before I went to bed. Excuse. Both reasons or both outcomes are a pink slip, but how you got there are different.
Yeah, I think an even better example of that is, you're late. One is, I stayed up way too late playing video games.
Nice.
And the other one is I hit traffic. Both times you're late. I'm late because I slept in because I play video games. That's an excuse, or that's a reason.
Yeah.
But if you're late because of traffic, something you could have planned for, but it's not an everyday thing, an accident happened, if you will, that's an excuse, because that's an excusable act. Where it's like, okay, how could you know there was traffic? I get it.
Yep.
You're usually on time, blah, 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 blah. But again, it's an internal thing, because only you have the power to really know a reason for what you did, or
plus like
lied to, like you can lie to your boss, be like, ooh, traffic. And he's like, okay, I mean, I can't do much.
Yeah.
But if you really slept in, you should know that you're giving a reason. You're not excused.
Because you knew you were going to be late when you stayed up that late.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
it's up to you to really be decent enough to
be
held accountable.
And so, do we blame the 100 men for dying against a gorilla? Or do we excuse their inaptitude because it's a fucking gorilla?
I think I blame the king for putting 100 people to go fight a gorilla.
Man, so I think that's probably why we had kings, though. Like, to do that kind of shit. Like the only reasons the pyramids got built is because we had a fucking bunch of rich, bored pharaohs who are like, you know what? There needs to be a triangle there, and there currently isn't.
I'm the big man. You do what I say.
So we're going to spend the next 50 years putting one there.
Now, we're going to wrap this up, but this is perfect because I had this thought the other day. So I want to pick this up in the next episode because it's a good train of thought. You remember Marvel Avengers?
Yeah.
The first one with Loki being the big bad guy?
Yeah.
And he showed up to, I think it was Germany. And he's basically saying, like, kneel to me. Like you were meant to serve.
Yeah.
And one guy, you know,
he
that whole scene.
Up.
But, like, that idea is so interesting to me because it's like, ooh, people are made to serve. And then, like, people are like, no, we're not. We're not below gods.
Yeah.
But then I thought, oh, we are absolutely meant to serve. But then we are also meant to rise up against servitude. That is intrinsic to people because we need a leader.
Okay.
We always follow a leader in a general capacity. Like we have a president, we have dictators, we have emperors, but it is also intrinsic to people to destroy leadership.
So I think you're I really like this.
This is why I want to pick it up in the next one.
Yeah. I think the only thing I would reframe there is that we don't follow leaders, we follow stories, and the leaders typically are the ones telling the story, right?
I think that's where we'll put a pin on it.
Yeah,
and we'll pick that up because we're about there.
Okay.
But that's interesting, and maybe for those of you watching, we have these little mystery. Don't flip it over. We have these little mystery topics that maybe one day we'll just flip and...
Aliens!
That's good when everyone loves aliens. So much has fucking happened since then. And maybe that'll go in the theme of people are meant to serve, where it's like, if aliens show up and we're like, oh, I love aliens.
Well, I mean, yeah, if anyone's ever heard of the Anunnaki before, that is quite literally one of the oldest stories was that... early humans were basically genetically modified by the aliens to mine gold for them.
Yeah. And maybe we were, but we'll pick that up in the next episode.
Yep.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for me having you. And
don't fight any gorillas you're not planning to kill or die by.
Yeah. If you're suicidal, go fight a gorilla.
Yeah.
But if you're really suicidal, don't do it, but the funny answer is...
fight a bear.
Don't fight a gorilla because it's going to be fucking rough. Just jump off a building.
Don't jump off
a
building.
Don't kill yourself.
That's crazy. Fight a bear.
Or walk on the train tracks and busy and headphones.
Yeah.
Either way, hey, be good. Think at least at some point in a day, and we'll catch up on you next time.
All right.
All right.
Hasta luego.
Smooches. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.